Now, it may be international break, but that isn't going to stop our regular look at the Championship. Here are my hot takes for the entire season so far. 1. Parachute lag. As the financial gap between the Premier League and the Championship gets bigger and bigger, we've seen our 3 relegated teams have a slightly different August than we've seen before. For Southampton, Leicester and Leeds, it's been a summer of selling. If reported figures are to be believed, the 3 clubs have banked over £250 million combined in sales. That all sounds great, doesn't it? But it's almost made a bit of a mockery of their first 5 games, as the whole month has basically been spent sorting out their first 11. These are not just squad players we're talking about. These are players that managers would otherwise build their entire strategy around. Nobody knows whether they're coming or going. It's nothing new for the big teams to sell, but with Leicester and Southampton coming down with massive assets after big, long stints up in the Premier League, this is the most overwhelming outbound business I can remember. In his interview this week with the Square Ball, Leeds CEO Angus Kinnear said that players just don't want to play in the Championship anymore and would have crawled over broken glass to avoid doing so. As much as there's plenty of understandable jealousy towards the resources of the parachute teams, we want an even playing field in the Championship, even for them. If players whose performances were frankly not good enough to keep their clubs in the Premier League are able to decide that they are above playing in the Championship, then that is further evidence that this growing financial and philosophical gap between what are 2 interlinking leagues is getting problematically much wider. 2. Continuity bonus. Given that we've just suggested a lot of the Championship's top performing assets, I'm talking about players, spend August trying to get themselves moves elsewhere, there's a growing argument that the teams with the best continuity and winning momentum are those that have just joined us from League One. This year, more than ever, with those incredibly high points tallies, Plymouth, Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday joined the division with probably as good a winning mentality as anybody already in it. The more I think about it, the more it seems the promoted teams have pretty much a 6 to 8 week window, while teams with new managers and multiple new players get themselves up to speed. Ipswich have cashed in their continuity bonus and are in second at the international break with 4 wins already, and a few of those games have been pretty low margin, and it feels like the settled pattern of play and that winning momentum has been the key difference more than anything else. Plymouth put a lot of energy in the summer into keeping last season's team together, and their home record has kept up and given them 2 wins already, plus a very narrow defeat to one of the big boys in stoppage time in Southampton. The nature of those wins was exactly what we were used to seeing last season. Plymouth have picked up where they left off. But what about Sheffield Wednesday, I hear you say? Where is their advantage? Well, like all advantages in life, they can be given and then not used. Wednesday have 1 point from 5 games, having sacrificed any sense of continuity they had from the past 2 seasons with Darren Moore's exit in the summer. Xisco came in, their transfer business was then delayed as a result. Look, I'm not saying it would have been a guarantee, but that chaos certainly didn't help the Owls cash in on my perceived continuity bonus. 3. Top and tail. Looking at the extremities of the Championship table after 5 games, we'll see that you get a big surprise. If you took 100 Championship fans, it sounds like family fortunes, doesn't it, and said that Preston and Middlesbrough, one will be top, one will be bottom, which is which, I don't think that many of your 100 people would have had it this way around. Right up at the top, Preston are deservedly in first place. The only team on 13 points, one of only 2 sides undefeated, and nobody in the Championship has conceded fewer or recorded more clean sheets. Now look, I can go on about XG, low margin wins, nice fixtures, or I can just say, well played Preston, keep it up. Right down at the bottom, Middlesbrough look like some rubbish soap actor doing a dreadful job of portraying that brilliant playoff team of last season that was so fun to watch. We can state the obvious here and talk about the absence of Akpom, Archer, Ramsey and Giles, but the Borough fans have heard it all before. The window is closed and it is time to move on. Michael Carrick blew us away with his brilliant start to management last season. Let's see what he is really made of now. Here's a challenge for you lot then in the comments. Extremely basic maths tells us that the gap between Preston and Borough can't get any bigger than the 22 places in between them that it is right now. Next international break is in 6 games' time after round 11. You tell me how many places between Preston and Borough then? 4. Brand new start. There's a bit of a sense of a reset at a number of our clubs in terms of playing staff, managers and even ownership. I've picked out one from the top, one from the middle and one from the bottom in Birmingham, Coventry and Swansea. Swansea have sold their star man, Joel Pirro, brought in 13 players and a new manager in Mike Duff. Not only is it a new look team, but completely new footballing philosophy for the players who were already there playing under Russ Martin and for Swansea fans to get used to. If it's going to work out, patience will be required. I really enjoyed Michael Duff's Barnsley side, but Swansea are without a win, and guess who they've got next? Their fiercest rivals Cardiff, away from home. Coventry are in that middle pack, and their reset simply represents the end of a cycle and the start of a new one. 3 seasons in the Championship, 16th, 14th, 5th, and a penalty shootout defeat in the playoff final last season meant the end of the road for that excellent team of Hamer and Gyökeres as the Sky Blues deservedly cashed in big time on their 2 brilliant star players. Coventry have reinvested heavily in some really credible looking players, and their manager Mark Robins is amongst the most assured and settled in the entire division. The new look squad hasn't quite gelled yet, but they've only lost 1 game up at Leicester. I was there and they could and probably should have come away with at least a point from that game. All being well, much to be optimistic about this particular brand new start. No real argument that our most spectacular brand new start has been at Birmingham City, where it was out with the old and in with the new in terms of ownership, and the mood around the club has completely transformed. A hugely positive transfer window reflects really well on the new owners. Some stardust in the presence of NFL megastar Tom Brady was sprinkled on their home game against Leeds as well. On the pitch, a fine start sees Blues 4th and undefeated so far. The mood is high, but now so are the expectations. And as John Eustace told myself and Sam Parkin on the Championship Check-In podcast, 3 games, 6 days apart will be a stern test of the Birmingham brand new start. 5, best league in the world. I know I would say it, but the fun just never stops in the Championship, does it? By way of comparison, a quick glance at the Premier League table during international break, and you'll see perennial winners Man City are already top, and our 3 promoted teams from last season in the bottom 4. Predictable, anybody? The first month in the Championship absolutely cannot be called the same. We already mentioned surprise teams in the very top and very bottom positions. Only 2 teams are still unbeaten after 5 games. We're averaging nearly 3 goals per match. 4 teams are already into double figures for goals scored, and Southampton have had 22 goals combined in their 5 games so far. When Leicester had a perfect 4-game winning streak, Hull went to the King Power and took that away. When Sheffield Wednesday hadn't got themselves a single point, they got their first at the home of one of the big boys in Leeds. When Rotherham needed their first win, they got it against a banging form Norwich team playing for top spot. We've had Southampton 4, Norwich 4, Ipswich 3, Leeds 4, and Watford scoring 4 in the first 43 minutes of the season, not scoring again for nearly 6 hours, and then drawing 3-3 with a comedy own goal into the bargain. Aaron Ramsey's return to Cardiff has delivered great narrative and some great performances on the pitch. Ozan Tufan has been a Turkish delight at Hull, Gabriel Sara, a Brazilian beauty at Norwich, and Chris Rigg, a Wearside wonder kid at Sunderland. Give me a Neil Warnock press conference, a Daniel Farke unbelievable hard, and a hi-ho Sheffield Wednesday, or a meal. We may lament the broken financial state and the exodus of many of the star players, but new stars will be born and new stories told in the best league in the world. There you go, there are my August hot takes. As always, let me know yours in the comments. We've still been knocking out the content during the international break, so click here to see my glorified game of higher or lower in the revised 1-24 Championship predictions, and click here to see the latest episode of the Championship Check-In featuring an interview with none other than Birmingham City boss John Eustace.